We all experience the world around us in 3 dimensions. These 3 dimensions, height, width, and depth, form the structure of the physical reality we interact with every day. Think about any object you use in your daily life, like your phone or a book. You can measure its length, its width, and its thickness or depth. These are the coordinates that define that object in 3-dimensional space. But is this the limit of reality? What if there's more beyond these 3 measurements? Let's try a mental experiment. Imagine that we live in a 2-dimensional world, a so-called flatland. In this flatland, the inhabitants only understand length and width. They are completely unaware of the concept of depth or height. Now, if a 3-dimensional object, such as a sphere, were to pass through their flatland, the inhabitants would not be able to perceive the entirety of the sphere. Instead, they would only see a changing series of shapes. For example, as the sphere passed through their plane, they might first see a small circle, which would grow larger as the sphere's wider section passed through, and then shrink again as it exited. To these flatlanders, the sphere would be an incomprehensible, shape-shifting object, though we in the 3rd dimension can easily recognize it for what it is. This is analogous to how we perceive the 4th dimension. Just as the flatlanders couldn't fully grasp the 3-dimensional object, we struggle to truly comprehend the 4th dimension, which extends beyond the 3 spatial dimensions we are familiar with. The 4th dimension, in theoretical physics, is often referred to as space-time, and while it's mathematically definable, our senses are not equipped to directly perceive it. Mathematically, the 4th dimension is simply another axis or coordinate that defines a point in a higher dimensional space. Imagine, instead of moving forward or backward, as we do in the first 3 dimensions, you could also move in an entirely new direction that we can't visualize in our world, like moving through time or through another layer of space. This may sound abstract, but it's a cornerstone of many advanced theories in physics and is essential for understanding concepts like time travel or the structure of the universe. Essentially, 4th dimensional thinking means training your mind to go beyond the constraints of space and time as we normally experience them. Instead of thinking about problems, events, and situations in purely 3-dimensional terms, 4th dimensional thinking requires you to consider additional layers of complexity, time, and possibility. Think about how we typically approach challenges in our lives. For most of us, our thought processes are rooted in linear time and physical space. We often think in a direct cause and effect sequence: if I do this, then that will happen. But 4th dimensional thinking urges us to go further. It's about understanding that events are not isolated. Instead, they are interconnected across space and time. This mode of thinking opens doors to conceptualizing ideas like time travel, parallel universes, or even the idea that multiple versions of reality could exist simultaneously, concepts that are often considered only in the realm of science fiction, but which have scientific foundations. Albert Einstein's theory of relativity plays a big role in this understanding. In his groundbreaking work, Einstein proposed that space and time are not separate entities but are intertwined into what he called the space-time continuum. This means that time isn't just a static, unchanging backdrop. It's something that can stretch, warp, and bend just like physical space. In fact, the presence of mass and energy can influence space-time itself, creating phenomena like gravitational waves or black holes. So when we talk about 4th dimensional thinking, we're talking about being able to conceptualize events and objects in relation to both space and time as a unified whole, not separate elements. Problem solving. Typically, when we encounter a problem, we approach it in a step-by-step, linear fashion. We identify the issue, consider the possible causes, and work towards a solution. While this approach can be effective, it's often limited. Fourth-dimensional thinking allows us to see the problem as part of a larger, interconnected system. It's not just about solving the issue at hand but understanding how this problem fits into a larger web of factors across time. When you view a problem from multiple angles and consider its relationship to other issues or future consequences, you can develop more robust, long-term solutions. For example, if you're facing a financial issue, traditional thinking might lead you to cut costs or increase savings in the short term. But by applying fourth-dimensional thinking, you would also consider how this financial issue is connected to broader patterns in your life, your habits, long-term goals, and relationships with others. This broader perspective could lead you to not just fix the immediate problem but also address the root cause, leading to lasting change. Creativity and innovation. Many of the world's greatest innovations were born from thinking outside the box, quite literally, outside the three-dimensional box of our everyday experience. Fourth-dimensional thinking allows us to break free from conventional constraints and imagine new possibilities that wouldn't otherwise be visible. For example, imagine an architect designing a building. A traditional approach might focus on aesthetics and functionality within the confines of three-dimensional space. However, fourth-dimensional thinking could allow the architect to consider how the building interacts with its surroundings across time, factoring in the changing weather, the way natural light moves throughout the day, or how the building might evolve in function over decades. Similarly, in the arts, fourth-dimensional thinking can inspire new forms of expression by encouraging creators to experiment with time-based media, interactive installations, or concepts that challenge the boundaries of traditional form and structure. Emotional intelligence and relationships. Relationships are rarely simple. They evolve, shift, and change over time, influenced by countless factors. Fourth-dimensional thinking encourages you to view your interactions with others through a temporal lens, seeing how your actions and decisions today might ripple out into the future. It encourages empathy by helping you consider not only how someone feels in the present but also how their emotions and perspectives may evolve over time. For instance, if you're in a conflict with a loved one, instead of focusing solely on the immediate disagreement, you might think about how the issue has developed over time and what future steps can be taken to foster healing and understanding. This perspective allows you to engage more deeply and with more compassion, fostering relationships that are more resilient and adaptive. From a scientific perspective, the concept of the fourth dimension is largely tied to theories of physics and cosmology. As mentioned earlier, Einstein's theory of relativity redefined our understanding of time and space, presenting them as a unified entity rather than distinct aspects of the universe. This theory revolutionized physics and allowed us to explore phenomena that defy traditional understanding, such as black holes, gravitational time dilation, and even the possibility of time travel. Essentially, science tells us that the fourth dimension is real, though not something we can perceive directly with our senses. It exists as a mathematical construct that helps explain the fundamental workings of the universe. In more recent times, string theory has further expanded the conversation, suggesting that the universe might consist of even more dimensions beyond the fourth, potentially as many as 10 or 11. While these ideas remain largely theoretical, they push the boundaries of how we understand reality, encouraging us to think in dimensions beyond the three we experience daily. Philosophically, the concept of the fourth dimension challenges our fundamental assumptions about reality. From Plato's allegory of the cave to modern existentialism, philosophers have long explored the idea that what we perceive with our senses may not be the full picture of reality. Fourth dimensional thinking aligns with this tradition by suggesting that there are aspects of the universe, and perhaps of our own consciousness, that are hidden from view but no less real. Many spiritual traditions also echo this idea. For instance, in certain Eastern philosophies and mysticism, it's believed that the material world is merely an illusion, a veil over a deeper, more complex reality. By expanding your mind and learning to perceive beyond the physical, you can achieve higher levels of awareness. In this sense, fourth dimensional thinking isn't just a mental exercise, it's a pathway to greater spiritual understanding and enlightenment. Visualization techniques. A great way to start thinking in 4 dimensions is through visualization exercises. Begin by imagining how objects or events unfold over time, not just in space. For example, if you're thinking about a tree, don't just imagine its height, width, and depth. Try to visualize its life cycle, from seed to sapling to mature tree, and finally, its decay. This exercise trains your brain to think about objects in relation to time and change, not just their current physical form. Shift your perspective. One of the keys to fourth dimensional thinking is being able to see situations from multiple perspectives, even ones that might initially seem unrelated. Next time you're faced with a challenge, try to consider it from a perspective outside of your own. Ask yourself how someone else, with a different background, experience, or timeline, might approach the same issue. This will help you break free from linear thinking and allow you to see the interconnectedness of various factors. Meditation and mindfulness. Meditation is an essential tool for expanding your mind's capacity to perceive beyond the ordinary. By training yourself to be fully present in the moment, you can begin to experience time differently. Mindfulness also helps you observe your thoughts and feelings without becoming attached to them, giving you a more fluid, less rigid understanding of reality, a cornerstone of fourth dimensional thinking. Study complex systems. Lastly, studying complex systems in nature, society, or technology can help you grasp the interconnectedness of seemingly separate parts. For example, ecosystems are an excellent model of how multiple factors interact across space and time. By studying how a forest, for instance, changes across seasons, reacts to external stressors, and evolves over time, you'll start to see parallels in other areas of life, such as human behavior, technology, and even global economies. Reality isn't as rigid or fixed as it seems. By expanding your mind and adopting a fourth dimensional perspective, you can begin to reshape how you interact with the world, unlocking new possibilities for growth and transformation. Thank you for watching today's video. If you found this topic interesting, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content on expanding your perception and challenging your understanding of reality. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below.